Long ago, in the village of Obana, where the rivers sang and the baobab trees whispered secrets to the wind, there lived a man named Kofi the drummer. He was no ordinary drummer. His hands moved like the wind, his rhythm spoke to the earth, and when he played, even the ancestors listened. At every festival, when the great talking drums were brought out, it was Kofi's hands that made them speak. His beats told stories of war and peace, love and sorrow, harvest and famine. The elders nodded in approval, and the young women watched him with admiration, hoping he would choose one of them as his bride. But Kofi was not in a hurry to marry. One day, after a particularly joyful festival, Kofi made an announcement that sent ripples through the village. "I will only marry the woman who can match my rhythm," he declared. Not just in drumming, but in heart and spirit. The village buzzed with excitement. Some laughed, thinking it was a clever way to avoid marriage. Others believed it was a challenge worthy of a man like Kofi. Over the following months, many women came forward. The daughters of wealthy traders, the granddaughters of chiefs, and even women from neighboring villages traveled to Obana, eager to prove themselves. They sat before the great drum, lifted their hands, and struck it with all their might. Some played beautifully, but none could match Kofi's rhythm. One woman struck too hard and broke the drum skin. Another was so timid that her beats were swallowed by the wind. A third, frustrated by her failure, accused Kofi of trickery. "You have already chosen a bride, haven't you?" she cried. Kofi only smiled. "If I had, would I still be playing alone?" As the weeks passed, the villagers began to whisper. Some said Kofi would never find his match. Others said he was too proud, that no woman could ever satisfy him. Then came Abani. She was not from a wealthy home, nor was she the daughter of a chief. Abani was the daughter of Boba Olimo, the village calabash maker. She had grown up listening to the rhythms of the land, the rustling leaves, the birds' calls, the pounding of yam in wooden mortars. She had never played a drum before, but in her heart, she understood rhythm. When Abani heard of Kofi's challenge, she did not rush to take part like the others. She waited, she watched, she listened, and when she was ready, she went to him. The entire village gathered to watch as Abani stepped forward. The sun was sinking, casting long shadows over the village square. The firelight flickered, making Kofi's drum glow like a living thing. Kofi looked at her curiously. She did not seem nervous or eager to impress. Instead, she smiled, a quiet, knowing smile. "Are you ready?" he asked. Abani nodded. Kofi lifted his hands and began to play. A slow, steady rhythm. The sound was deep, like footsteps on damp earth. Abani closed her eyes, listening, not just to the drum, but to the space between the beats. Then, she raised her hands. Her first touch was gentle, almost hesitant, like the first drops of rain before a storm. Then she played again, her hands moving with certainty. She did not try to overpower him, nor did she lag behind. She danced with his rhythm, weaving her own story into his. The villagers leaned forward. No one had ever done this before. Kofi changed the tempo, quickening the pace. Abani followed without hesitation. He slowed down, and so did she. He stopped suddenly, and she let the silence speak. The people gasped. The elders nodded. Then, Kofi smiled, the widest smile anyone had ever seen on his face. He lifted his drum high above his head. "This," he said, "is my bride." The village erupted in cheers. The women who had failed were silent, watching Abani with new respect. The men, who had once laughed at Kofi's challenge, now understood. Kofi and Abani were married under the great baobab tree. But Abani did not become just the drummer's wife. She became his equal. She played beside him at every festival, their hands moving together like the wings of a bird in flight. And so, the story of Abani and Kofi was told for generations, not just as a tale of love, but as a lesson that true harmony is not about being the loudest or the strongest, but about listening, understanding, and moving as one. And that, my friends, is the tale of the drummer's bride.